What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Just an Editor podcast. My name is Corey Cudney, and I am just an editor. But today I have with me the best, in my opinion, local videographer here in Austin, Texas. You can catch his meet and greet videos and really all other types of videos on Twitter at Pixelbrave. You can look him up on YouTube at Christian Puente on YouTube. Trying to get to 100 subs to get that custom URL, so be sure to go over and subscribe to him. Our guest today is Mr. Pixelbrave.
Hey there, guys. Hi.
How are you doing, man?
Good. It's the weekend, nice easy morning,
Nice.
Getting to chit chat with a fellow best friend, what more could I want,
That's right, man. Weekends make it so much better. And like you said, with the best friends, it always makes it a little bit better. So I just wanted to jump in, just get right started on this one, because if anybody's seen you on Twitter or YouTube, they've seen your amazing videos. So how in the world did you get started with this? I mean, did you just pick up a camera? Did you watch a movie and you go, I could do that? Like, how did you get into this?
Just basically by being too shy for my own good. For those who look really close at their MP3, you can see that I'm a Latin American person. So I have a big Mexican-American family, lots of uncles, cousins, everything. So whenever we get together for whether weddings, quinceañeras, New Year's, just whatever, there's a lot of us. And like I said, I'm just like shy and introverted. And turns out whenever there's a big celebration, the easiest way to not get involved is by actually just throwing the camera up. And it kind of becomes a cloak of invisibility. People know, they're just like, oh, well, he's busy, he's doing this thing. And I don't even remember how early it was that I started, but that is like the long and short of like just, and then that turned into like, wow, I really like this. And I mean, home videos are filmmaking, but we don't ever think about it that way. And
totally.
I think around when I was 10 is when I knew I wanted to be involved in movie making, but I didn't realize that what I was doing with these home videos and stuff was already movie making. So that's kind of how it started.
Man, that's awesome. What's like the first camera that you remember getting and you were like, this is awesome?
So my parents had like the big VHS one, and then they had the it was like a mini VHS that you would put into a VHS adapter.
Oh yeah.
And that's the one that I actually started using like around family events and stuff like that. I don't know if you meant my own personal first camera, but if you did, then that was, I think it was the Canon HG10. No, that's my second camera. But my first camera, I don't remember the maker model of it, but it was a Canon camera and it was a mini DV. They're these small little thin 90 to 60 minute tapes. And I got that back in high school because that's when I started really being a bit more hands-on with like wanting to do videos and short films and stuff.
Nice. Awesome. So when you're filming, you said that like shy is kind of what got you into it, being shy and not wanting to be there. Is there like a little thing that when you're filming and stuff like that you're like, this is just amazing. This is the reason I want to continue to do this?
If it, like in the moment, just reactions, just seeing people coming in together, that's what keeps me shooting. And that's what gets me to turn it on the camera when I'm shooting, is anything that is looks like a positive image or moment that I can share, because that's what I really want to do. Like I just want to shoot that way. I can kind of, people don't realize as they're in these moments that they're contributing this just positive energy and positive vibes to the environment, and that's great for everyone that's right there with us. But I want that to echo out even more, and so to capture that and share that out on the internet, that's what I really want to do. So when I'm anywhere, let's say an event, because that's what I usually cover is events and conventions and stuff, like what gets me going and what gets me motivated to keep shooting is seeing interactions, which I mean, this Kind of Funny best friend community is like the perfect place for that, because it's a lot of love, a lot of family. It's just a really good vibe. Yeah,
no, you bring up the Kind of Funny community and stuff. How did you kind of get into where you are now in the Kind of Funny community, where it's like if there's a meet and greet, if there's an event, you're almost guaranteed to see Pixelbrave there filming it,
I try to go to as much as I can, but I mean, I started following Greg after Beyond episode 35, and just became a big fan of him and Ryan, and followed their whole journey at IGN until they became Kind of Funny. And I slowly started just lurking in the community and realizing I wanted to be a part of it. Not in the capacity that I am now. Like I didn't anticipate that I would kind of be like one of the go-tos for video or anything like that. I just wanted to, much similar to my kind of an evolution of the family thing, instead of being like, hey, I'm too shy to interact with people, more like, hey, like this is the language I speak in. I speak in video, I speak in imagery, and this is a community I want to connect with. And so I will speak to this community in the language that I know best, which is video. And that kind of really started off like, well, that kind of started off at Beyond 400, I think it was, when they had the big old house party in San Francisco. Yeah, I shot that, and people, and like I said, like the point of that was just I wanted to share my love with IGN, with Beyond, with the community and the friends that I made online that were going to be there. But people, like by then Twitter was way more, like people were using it a lot more to share stuff, and so it spread a lot. So I guess people saw my videos and stuff a bit more because it was easier to share. After that, like it was kind of a mutual, they wanted to see more videos and I wanted to make more videos, and so it just kind of lined up that I would get the attention of people that would make going to more events possible, like Pop Agenda shooting at PAX, and PAX West is coming up soon. And I mean, through the work that I've shot, like I'm being brought out there with What's Good Games. So
awesome.
I'm just doing my thing, and hopefully, and just fortunately people have enjoyed it, and I guess, and that's opened up a few doors, but it's really just from wanting to share the moments that I'm experiencing with more people.
Yeah, definitely. Have you seen or been to, I should say, a like favorite event that you've been to that you're like, this one really sticks out in my mind?
Man, every Kind of Funny live event like outdoes the other. Like two, I didn't get to go to Kind of Funny 1, and I'm really sad about that. That looked like a lot of fun. But fortunately, I started going at 2, and 2 was amazing. Then 3 blew that out of the water. Then Prom, I mean,
they just keep stepping it up.
As of right now, Prom is probably one of my most favorite things, because it was just a week-long event. It's more than just the actual prom. It's the going to the movies, hanging out with people at their Airbnbs, there was a park of the food trucks, and everything leading up to Prom, and then afterwards it was just this great week of positivity. And then the prom itself was just such a blast, being there and shooting all of that.
Nice. Awesome. So we're talking about the events and everything, but I also noticed on the portfolio, I have been stalking you a little bit online. I noticed on the portfolio, you also did like a fair amount of client work. So talk to me a little bit about getting into the client side of things. Cause like I used to edit commercials for a news station, but never as like a, independent third party filmmaker, coming to them. So how did you go up to them, and how did that kind of evolve?
A lot of it is just, and they always say like, it's who you know. And that was definitely a big contributor. A lot of the client gigs that I'd done in before was, just the recommendations. I went to school at the university. I'm tripping over my tongue, but I went to school in Houston at the University of Houston, and just different classmates would have, they would have people that needed, either they were brought on themselves on a production team and would bring me on, or they would know that they had needs and they were too busy, so then they would pass the work to me. And so, just a lot of word of mouth, just people that I'd met. And then now I could use those samples that out of that experience and try to reach out. I don't do too much any kind of cold calling or approaching businesses.
Gotcha.
A lot of what you've seen before. I mean, that's something I do want to change. I think the reason why I haven't done that is just because like I'm so used to just being referred to that I'm not used to that exercise of putting myself out there as much, which I do want to change. I do need to, because now I'm in Austin. I don't have those same connections anymore. So that's definitely something I want to improve on, is taking my own initiative and looking out for people that might need, video services like that. But a lot of those that you see on my timeline are just referrals from friends, people that knew that I was doing video, and people that knew, a brand that needed video.
Awesome. Did you get to make any cool things when you were in school at the University of Houston?
A few short films. I shot like some of my first quote unquote music videos. Like I call them music videos because I mean, they are music videos, but they aren't the kind of thing that I'm not sure if I would use them on my real, like or I mean,
Yeah.
or, they're good practices, but there were some fun opportunities though. Like there was, so one in particular, it was a nightmare of a music video to shoot because it was just a nightmare. I can get into that another time, but like on paper though, it's an interesting opportunity. There was, so Playboy was having this competition, like a music video competition. And if you won the competition, then they would fly you out to Vegas, I think. And you would get to go to like this event or something. I wasn't a part of any of that, but somebody wanted to go and enter. So they assigned themselves producer and produced this music video. And I got brought on to be one of the camera ops for that because they like just friend of a friend kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that, if anything, that was an interesting thing to do so early because I don't know how he got in touch with the artist, but for the music video, instead of just getting some local person, they got this country artist named Jackson Young, I think he's out of Florida, but he's a country singer. And like, he wasn't like Billboard charts or anything like that, but he was a step above, just a local, musician. And so that was kind of a cool experience, having to work while in school for someone who has like kind of made it, or they're in the real world, like kind of, if that makes sense.
There,
someone who has a bit more, they have more expectations for what you're going to be delivering. And we were all working with the stuff that was well under probably what he was expecting, but the effort that we did to make that video happen as best as we could was a very unique experience for me anyways. So that was a fun early memory.
So going out of college, what was the first time that you brought the camera to an event that wasn't like a family get together or anything like that, and you were like, I'm just going to bring this and film people?
Well, I just in general I usually have a camera with me. I'm trying to think of first event. Because my mind, to those who don't know, I'm 30 years old. And I know everybody says that's the new 20, but for me, it's the new 60. So like my mind is mush. My memories, they're a blur. Time is just a construct, all this and that. Because, I mean, the first one that I can think of is, as far as events go, that one, Beyond 400 is the first real memorable one where I like.
Oh, okay. Before
that, I'm sure I did like small conventions. So I'm from here in Austin, Texas. We have conventions and events a lot. And I know South by Southwest has a game presence that I know I've shot before. And we have a retro convention here. And so those are some of the earlier ones that I think of. But whatever that first one was, it just didn't make as much of an impression as Beyond 400. For me, that's my canon. Like that's when, I'm really curious though now. I'm going to write a little note to go back and try to find later what was my first like kind of technical first event, because now I'm curious myself.
Oh, yeah, totally. So for those of the people who are listening and everything like that are trying to get into kind of what you do, the videography side of things, what are some tips or tricks that you've learned since like that first, like Beyond 400 and stuff like that you like, it's just common to you now going to like the RTX 2019 and stuff like that?
As far as like shooting or?
Yeah. Let's talk about shooting and then maybe we'll get into editing a little bit later. But yeah, on the shooting side of things with, because I know obviously for me personally, at least handling the camera, I've gotten definitely better over the years and finding shots and stuff like that.
I guess a few tips would be just like, there's nothing wrong with doing multiple takes of the same shot. Like sometimes you're in a hurry and you just want to keep getting diverse angles. But sometimes I have like 3 or 4 clips that are the same movement of like panning to the crowd from the stage or something like that. And don't always feel like, okay, cool, I got the shot, now I got to go. Like, because once you're in editing, like just, I guess that's a big tip, is just in general, as you're shooting, even if you're not the editor yourself, if you think you're going to hand it off, like just put yourself in the editor's shoes and think of like, okay, did I include enough information in this clip to give the editor or myself as the editor enough wiggle room to contribute that to the story. There's a lot of, and that's like the main one I have. It's so instinctual. It's just going by the feeling for me. There's not too much that I consider when shooting, as far as like, don't think too much about the framing or anything like that. I just try to do as diverse footage as I can. All I do is just if I'm happy with what I'm seeing, then that's good enough for me. But if anything, I don't think too much because a lot of it's secondhand, and you only get to that level by doing it so often. So if you feel like you have an event coming up or convention, performance, anything you want to shoot, then it doesn't matter if it's 3 days or 7 days before the event, just shoot as much as you can, and then you'll start feeling more confident, not only like shooting out in public or whatever. You also just kind of a muscle memory kind of thing, but like a mental muscle memory of like knowing you'll learn what shots you like, what pans and tilts and dolly shots and stuff and movements you like to make as a videographer.
What kind of programs do you use when you bring them out of the camera onto the machine?
I usually edit in Premiere. I learned editing on Final Cut 7, but after after they introduced the X, it was just so different that I wanted something more familiar, and Adobe Premiere was the next, thing. It was the next app that looked similar that operated similar to Final Cut. There's anyone listening, by the way, like Final Cut X is like a great and awesome application, and I don't talk bad about it at all. If you learn it, definitely, if you have access to it, definitely learn it. And I've definitely seen plenty of job posts where they're like, we want someone that shoots and edits with Final Cut. So
yeah, totally.
Premiere is like the big boy on campus right now, but don't count out Final Cut X. It's something even after all this time working with Premiere, I definitely want to eventually pick up X again, just because, like I said, I know people, sometimes it's part of their workflow. Their workflow involves X, and that's what they want to edit it with. And so it's something I want to be able to accommodate other clients and producers.
Yeah, totally. That's a great piece of advice overall, is just like diversity of what you have experience in. Totally. So one of the things that I've noticed in all of your videos, and I've always wanted to ask you this, and this podcast is the perfect time. In my opinion, every time I see a Pixelbrave video, I know it's a Pixelbrave video immediately by the color profile that you use.
Oh, really? Dude, that's awesome. I love that, because I have a favorite. Go ahead. I feel like I cut you off.
No, you're good, man. That's actually exactly where I was going, is how did you come across that color profile? What did you do to kind of get to where you are now? Because like I said, in my opinion, that's a very like trademark Pixelbrave video trait, in my opinion.
Oh, dude, that makes me so happy to hear. People say like that they recognize my videos because of like the rack focuses that I do. I do a lot of rack focus and just kind of the way I cut, the kind of music I pick. But like no one's ever called out the color, which is one of my favorite things that I always gotta like do my own little. Which I'm not a colorist, by the way. I am so afraid of coloring. I definitely picked it up and would apply it whenever I needed to back in school. But like I would much rather just like put on the producer hat and be like, here, colorist, I hired you, you do this for me.
Yeah, totally.
But being a one-man band, like I kind of have to do it myself. And it was actually for the Beyond 400 video where I finally decided to start playing around with LUTs, which to anyone who's listening, LUT stands for lookup table. And it's kind of like the equivalent of when you're in Instagram and you apply a filter. There's the different filters there to those. This is just for, I know you know about all this stuff, but to those who don't,
yeah, totally.
It's kind of similar. You're like, they have the Mayfair and the X Pro, whatever. Like LUTs kind of exist in Premiere too. You can just drag and drop these LUTs, and there was this one that I really liked, and I just fine tuned it to like it was too much when I first put it on there, but I adjusted it, made the levels something that I liked, and yeah, on that Beyond 400 recap video, I just found this look that I just fell in love with. That it felt like me. It felt like this really delivers how not just how the day looked, not just how people looked that day, but this is just kind of like it felt real to how I felt, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, totally. 100%.
And I don't like to keep secrets or anything like that. That LUT is called, if you're in Premiere, it's right there under the Lumetri presets, and the name one, and there's different versions of it. In this one that I use, it's called CineSpace 25 Faded Film. And when you throw that on there, again, that's Cinespace 25 faded film. It adds a filmic kind of grain to it and a lot of high contrast, lots of saturation. When you put it just on the footage as it is, like it's a lot. But like I said, I adjusted it to what I like, and now it's just become like one of my favorite signatures whenever I finish a video. And I'll even include it in if I'm doing like a client gig or something like that. I'll export like 2 versions of them. I'll put out like just a regular version, but then I'll also put out a version with my own with that picture profile that I like, in case they do want to go with it. Because like I like it so much that I at least want to give them the option, like, hey, like here's the clean version, but also like, hey, if you wanted to include, if you don't mind having more of my own flavor on this video, more of my own signature, or here's a version with my LUT on it too.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, it just I felt like it was a look that I felt just really adds more of my own personality into the video. Since I myself am not really in the video, I have my personality come across in another way.
The other thing about your videos that, in my opinion, make them so, for lack of a better term, digestible in like a Twitter verse and stuff like that, is the fact that you time them all to the music and everything like that. So kind of if this question will make sense, was that like a deliberate choice of all of them? Because I feel like most people that you see editing wise, especially for like a meet and greet type event, would keep the event audio on and would just do like hard cuts between them. And that may be a little jarring, but I feel like for yours, it feels much more of a highlight of the event, and everything like that. So how did you come across that type of video?
It just seemed like the natural thing to do. I'd been like, my first editing experiences in general from the get-go in high school were already like short films. So I already, from the get-go, I was learning like, hey, you go sound. I was seeing how early. Sorry, it's my mind is all over the place. There's so much I want to say.
Mine too. Mine too.
So I was already not like. I could already hear what it looks. Oh my gosh! Edit this all out, or not? Just kidding. But I had already seen what that jarringness is like when you're editing a video and you don't have the music for it yet, and it's one sound, one environment, then sharp cut to another one. Everyone and each environment has their own levels of sound from the dialogue and noise, and I just wanted to just mask it all out with sound, and so that was kind of just, it seemed like the long and short of it is that it seemed like the natural thing to do. I didn't like how the sharp cuts sound in other people's videos, and so I just started not using audio. And I've started recently, I don't know if it's very noticeable, but I started the music is still the primary sound, but I have started just putting like a very quiet ambient audio. Like I'll include the audio, but now it's really subtle. Like you have to kind of be listening to it. And that was actually a recommendation from a best friend. I was out there in Portillo's for PSX, and there was, I wish I could remember his name off the top of my head, but I can't. But he was doing camera, like photo shooting or vlogging or something. But when you see a camera, I can't help but be like, hey, hey, how you doing?
Yeah, totally.
Just like, hey, let's be friends now. And he was asking, I guess he'd seen my videos before, and he was like, hey, like, I've been watching your videos, and hey, ever thought about including the audio? And I'm like, yeah, but I don't really like how it sounds. And he was like, well, I think you should try it out sometime. And like, I honestly don't usually like that kind of thing. It sounds almost confrontational, but I could tell it was coming from a good place. Maybe it's something he did and he liked. So on one video, I decided, okay, I'll include the ambient audio. But again, this is too much, kind of like with the LUT thing. So I'm going to tone it down. So now part of my new style is incorporating ambient audio, but just in the background, kind of. But yeah, like I just in all of my style is just what feels comfortable to me, and editing to the beat, with a music heavy track, just letting the visuals tell the story. That was that it just kind of came across of asking myself what feels natural, what feels like what I want to do most. And dang, as I'm saying that right now, I feel like I just remembered something, and I'm not going to say it undoes everything that I just said,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's kind of like a cherry on top of the cake too. I'm just now reminded that there's actually, because I've always wanted to do this vlog telling the story that I'm about to tell right now, but there's actually this movie from Japan. It's a live action movie called Kashern, and the movie ends with kind of a highlight reel, not much unlike the kind that I shoot. And
wow. Okay.
I've always wanted to do a vlog being like, hey guys, like anyone that likes my style, this is something that definitely I took inspiration from. Not like, and when I think I'm going to do this vlog, whenever you see it, it cuts between what looks like home footage and then what's obviously high level produced footage. So it cuts back and forth between those two. And so that's how it's different, is that mine is all just, the home movie kind of not avant-garde. What am I thinking of? Verite kind of look.
Okay. Yeah.
But that was definitely, as far as the music goes, that was a, cause it's almost like the movie's ending with a music video.
Yeah.
But it's just this song played over just imagery. And I think that, again, not to undo everything I just said, but that was also another influence of like, this is a route I can take. It's almost like a music video vlog instead of, the other just raw audio recaps that other people post, which nothing's wrong with that. Whatever you are happy with is what you are happy with, and amen to that.
Yeah, totally. So you just brought it up and I completely forgot about it. I didn't even have it in my notes, but something that I've noticed you started to do a lot more lately is like a traditional vlog style. But I like it because you're posting them to Twitter and they're like a little bit shorter and they're kind of like mini trailers for the YouTube version of it. And it like kind of drives me, at least personally, traffic to the YouTube videos.
I'm glad it's working.
So what kind of inspired you to start doing a more vlog style video in addition to the like event best of style videos?
Well, I'm in going to more events, I end up making more friends, meeting more people, and there's just all this time between seeing each other, and there's like what do you call them, group threads and group chats and all this stuff. And those are great. I love being in those and talking, but I like I said, the whole reason why I even am a videographer is because my language is visual. I communicate much better, through talking and shooting. And so I was like, I have all access to all these chats and stuff, but I really want to connect more through the language that I'm most fluent in. And so that's why I kind of started taking up a bit more similar to traditional style vlogging of, myself in front of the camera. And I'm just such a big fan of short form content anyways. I don't know why, I don't know how or anything, because I usually like long form stuff. I like really long movies and anime and songs and everything. So I don't know why, as a producer or as a creator, I like bite-sized stuff. It just kind of, it's still experimental. I can't even say like it's a new thing I'm doing or it's my new style or my new anything, because it's something I'm just trying out. Honestly, if the only reason, and it's also like a product of my restraint of that's been placed on me by Twitter. Twitter only allows 20 minutes, 2 hours and 20, not 2 hours, 20 minutes. That was my dream. 2 hours and 20 minutes. Please give me that Twitter. But
that would be amazing.
Twitter only allows 2 minutes and 20 seconds. And so like, it's just a restraint that I'm given. And I didn't like that. I wish I could do longer videos on Twitter, but I just don't have access to that. That's some super, super exclusive club that I'm just, that's my dream right there. If I could get longer videos on Twitter, that would just be the dream. But yeah, just trying to find, it's like and to add on to that, the vlogs are now being posted on a new YouTube channel. And so I needed to start making new efforts to drive people to that. And so, just kind of looking around and seeing how other people were approaching videos. Like I was like, okay, well, let me try this, where it's like a shorter version on here and then like link out to the actual YouTube page. And
totally.
Fortunately, Adobe updated to now have like GIFs really much easier to make. So now I've started just doing GIFs as the preview instead of doing, because I used to do a short video and then link to YouTube. But then I don't know, like I've been exporting a GIF is just a lot easier. Just picking 3 or 4 little moments and then just, okay, this is the GIF, it's a preview, and if you want to see the rest, please come here.
Yeah, totally.
But it's really just an experimentation. It's really just me just trying to experiment with reaching more people or trying to direct them to this new page that I have.
And to steal something from Greg Miller, where can people find that page?
Man, I don't know how to direct people there because it doesn't have a custom URL yet. I'm still working on it. And I don't know if you mentioned earlier that if you look me up on YouTube as Christian Puente, which is my name, and I don't shy away from my name. Pixelbrave was not meant to be a moniker, but it became one on its own. And now I embrace it. But I would like to think that if you just look up Christian Puente, that it will take you there. But it's still, as far as I know, it's just a long, weird default URL that YouTube gives you.
Got you. Okay, I'll throw a link in the YouTube version.
Oh, thank you. If anything, what I say, because I've been doing a few more podcasts this year, it was definitely a goal to connect with more people, via podcast, because it gives me a chance to talk and like I said,
totally.
and practice that, and so usually I just direct anybody to my Twitter, just because that's where I'm most present. That's where I share the most videos and where I do the most engagement. So. So if anything, while we get that whole thing sorted out, people can find me, on Twitter at Pixelbrave.
Awesome. So you mentioned short form content and that you also enjoy the longer form in the movies and everything. And then you also mentioned earlier the movie inspiring kind of your style as well. So I was wondering, what's some of your favorite content overall, like movies or maybe an internet video that influenced you or anything like that?
One of the biggest influences on me growing up was the movie El Mariachi, which, to anyone who doesn't know, that's the first feature film from director Robert Rodriguez, who later on went on to do like a bunch of very popular films like Sin City, Desperado. He recently did Alita, which I can't believe I got to be in Alita as an extra. That was a lot of fun. But his very first film, I'm 30 years old, and he made this film when he was 23, I think. So he's 7 years younger than me when he makes this, and just on a shoestring budget in the middle of Mexico. I didn't even think he spoke Spanish. I think he had a lot of help translating, because to those who don't know, it's a foreign film in Spanish, and I think he had help with all of that. And it's about a mariachi player. He himself didn't play guitar at the time, so he just just with pure willpower got this film made, and I just watched it over and over again, like features front and back almost every day. And it definitely, first off, I find it very entertaining because he takes risks in the movie that I don't think people would take right now, because it was supposed to just be an art house film for his class when he was attending film school, and then it was just going to become like a straight to video kind of thing to earn money to make more films. And so he was just there are a lot of really cartoonish and moments in it, and just choices that are just kind of, like I said, they're risky, and people wouldn't make these risks anymore. And so it was just an inspiration to see this person that was also like kind of cut from the same cloth as far as like another Texas filmmaker who just didn't have much, but did a lot with what he could. So yeah, that ended up being just a really pivotal movie for me.
Man, that is a solid movie. That's a solid choice right there. And you mentioned Alita being an extra in it, and I want to know how did that kind of come about? How did you luck into that one?
So I have some friends that I met, like I said, at University of Houston, and I've never been the actor route. I had to do acting in my own high school films, and that was it. Like, I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm never doing it in front of camera again, because I don't like how I sound or how I act. I'm definitely stiff, and I'm just not a good actor. It's not trying to be modest or anything. Like, no, like I'm just not made for it. I forget where I was going with that. Okay, so yeah, so in Houston, I made some friends, and they were more of the acting side. They would chase leads for being extras in commercials and movies and stuff like that. And it's been maybe 2 years, I think, since that shoot. So I'm trying to remember. I think that they had mentioned they were in town and they wanted to just get dinner. And I'm like, oh, what are you in town for? And they're like, yeah, we're shooting the Alita thing. And I was like, oh, well, let me know if there's ever more openings. And they hit me up, and they're like, hey, look, they're looking for more people, and here's the link. And I've been able to do a few roles as an extra, and each one's a little bit different. Sometimes they just send out an email, and you just all they need is something as simple as you just taking a selfie with your phone. Just email that to this thing and they'll be like, okay, cool. Like call times at 5 o'clock or whatever like that.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
But as far as Alita goes, yeah, just like they sent me the link to where the casting was. And I think all I did was send in a selfie or two. And they're like, cool,
Wow.
like come and get your for your fitting. They, took my measurements and like, they're like, cool, like here's some costumes and stuff that maybe we'll give you, which is just like a bunch of like regular clothes, but it's been aged or whatnot to look a bit more cinematic or to have more texture to it. And
yeah. How did that feel jumping on that movie? Like you said, Robert Orias.
I was so excited.
Like,
I mean, he was one of my favorite directors growing up, and he's not my current favorite director, but I still admire him so much because what separates him from a lot of directors is that, like, whether you like his movies or not, at the end of the day, that movie that's on screen is pretty much, I'm sure, like 99% exactly what he wanted it to be. And there's so few filmmakers that get to like be like that, have that auteur status and just be like, what I want is what's going to be there. A lot of times you hear about studios interfering or this or that.
Oh yeah, totally.
But luckily, like, people will just, he gets so many of his films are just what he wants them to be. And so the chance to be on the set of that, I figured like with a high budget movie like this with so many effects that I wouldn't probably see him at all on set, but just to see to get a closer look at how a narrative feature film is run, that was a really good opportunity. Because to those who don't know, I mean, that is a big dream of mine to one day. I would love to shoot my own feature films. Narrative storytelling is like one of my dreams. And so that was a really fun opportunity. And plus doing that with friends and just getting to just spend time with more people that have that same love for movies. Like everyone there that's on set, and I don't mean just the crew, but I mean all the other extras there, which there were like hundreds of them. They're all there because in some way they also love Robert Rodriguez movies, or they also want to be actors, or they just like being part of creativity. It's kind of a similar vibe to like when you go to a PAX or RTX. Like, even though I might like Ruby and you might like Red versus Blue, there's still the overall like feeling of we still love, there's a Venn diagram there. And so that was a lot of fun. And yeah, it was a really good time. I hope to make another one. I'll try to be in
it. So you mentioned it, and this was the last question I had listed on my thing. So we're going to skip to that one, which was where, perfect world scenario, where does your career lead you to? What are you doing?
I've been asked that a few times, and it's always a weird, I have this problem, and it all goes back to what I mentioned earlier, is that I'm still working on communication, and a lot of times that also gets me in trouble because sometimes I'm too literal. So I'm like, do I just pick one? Are we talking about dream job, or are we talking about ideal best case scenario for like quote unquote realistic expectations? Like sometimes I overthink things, so it's always an interesting question to get. And I've gotten it several times before, and it's another thing I wanted to make a vlog about, is because I did get a few questions during RTX. To those who are listening, like RTX recently, passed by, and we had a lot of best friends, here in town that I got to catch up with. And yeah, several people, they did ask me like, hey, like, we know you shoot, for kind of funny and this and that, but like, what's the end goal? Like, what are you trying to do? Man, like,
yeah,
it's always an interesting question to get. And I definitely get a decision paralysis because I feel like a lot of people have a plan A and plan B. Like they have the one thing they want to do, and if not, maybe something they'll fall back on. Whereas me, I just want to do it all. Like, and so,
oh yeah, totally.
And so like it changes. So my priority kind of changes a lot. And I mean, to get quote unquote kind of real, like that's why that I could make the argument that that's why I'm still just a freelancer, and why I do still have a 9-to-5 day job, and I'm not a full-time content creator, is because I just keep pursuing. It's kind of like there's parallels to the whole like jack of all trades, master of none. I slowly pursue all these different avenues and different trajectories I want to go on, and because I haven't just picked one and focused on it. I think that might be why I'm not as far in my career as I'd like to be. But if I could just name a few things, I guess obviously a big dream of mine would be to direct my own feature films. I don't know if I'd want to do that full time though as like my career, because I am more kind of like how I mentioned, I'm a fan of short form content. I would really love to be. I would ideal situation. I could do like 5 feature films in my career, maybe and 5 tops, and the rest of that time between films, just do small form content in the form of short films and music videos. And so that's when I start overthinking and saying, oh, so is that done as a contract director, or is that done as opening up my own studio and production house? So that's why that's always kind of a funny question, because I end up second guessing, like, well, how do you get to that? You know?
Yeah. It's such a, I know exactly what you mean. It's such a like far reaching thing, and it feels like it can be farther than it maybe actually is. So I know exactly what you mean.
But it kind of like, just so I can feel a bit more confident that I did answer the question. Like, yeah, like the end goal would be shooting and not shooting. Let me be more specific, because I shoot out of necessity. If I had a camera off, like I would be all about that. I would like to direct. Directing specifically is the role that I am most in love with. I love editing, I love shooting, but like the big one for me, the heart of my heart is directing. I want to work with actors to tell a story. I want to, be the captain of that ship, moving, establishing the tone and the world and all of that. And yeah, that's what I'm going for right now. Editing is what I like to do to get me to there, if that makes sense. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah, editors make some really good directors.
That's what I hear. I hear like the 2 main paths, and again, they're the complete asterisks. People become directors in all sorts of ways, but I've heard 2 of the main ways are as an editor or as a DP. And I don't like thinking about all the things that go to becoming a DP, because you got to consider like, oh, where's the light coming from this way? And what am I saying with this frame? And like, I would much rather like deal with the performance, and then editing that performance, finding the perfect moments to cut and transition, things like that. So directing and editing are my 2 loves. Editing, I mean, camera op is kind of like a necessary evil kind of thing. Which I think people wouldn't guess, because I'm so often shooting and being asked to shoot, and it's something I'm always happy to do. But it's not, what I'm trying to turn into like the full-time thing.
Huh. Would you rather be directing somebody else's story or maybe your own?
I used to say directing other people's, because I had no interest in writing. Mm-hmm. I think I get to, before I would say I'd much rather tell other people's stories. Because when it's a really weird way to put this, okay? But like, as a kid, I'd be watching these movies and I'd be like, oh, like that was like awesome, but that's like a 9 out of 10. Like I'm saying this as a kid. I was like, if only they had said it like this, or just a little bit more, one more take, something like that. I was saying that as a kid, and so it's kind of, and that's other people's work that I'm critiquing, other people's work, stories that I'm wanting to have my fingerprints on. And I didn't really have any interest in writing myself, but I'm slowly starting to come around, because I want to start doing more narrative stuff now. And obviously I don't have the rights to making, film adaptations of so many licensed properties. And so by necessity, I have to come up with my own stories then. And I've actually slowly been falling in love with that process of coming up with characters, coming up with the world and the conflicts and stuff. So, so if you'd asked me a while back, I would have said doing other people's, and I'm still happy to, I still have definitely a wish list of movies to either do or shows to adapt, or books even, and comics that I'd love to adapt. But it's slowly starting to move in the trajectory of like, you know what, now I do feel like I have some things that I want to say through my own stories. And I've been writing, and it's been fun. And before you know it, I might just be like all in on just only doing my own stories.
Dang. Well, I can't think of a better place to end it than right there, because that was a beautiful way right there.
Oh, thanks.
So thank you so much for being with us, Christian. It
Oh,
was
dude, my
a
pleasure.
beautiful talk. Remember, everybody, you can follow him over at Pixelbrave on Twitter. That is right there, the hub of everything going on. You can also follow us over at Just an Editor Pod on Twitter, at Corey Cudney on Twitter. Follow us on YouTube, iTunes, all that good stuff. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I will see you in the edit bay.